At the basics of a good slate repair, you only need a handful of things. One, most importantly, a slate ripper. This is by Storch. It's one of the biggest names in the industry. There's the handle. You slide this under the slate. Once you grab the slate, you take your hammer, whack on this part. Not your hand, that would really hurt. Right here is the hooks. You get a closer look at them, you can see they grab the nail. Ideally, you want to have these sharpened so it cuts the nail more than pulls it. This is a newer one, so it hasn't been sharpened as of yet. A hammer, you don't need a slater's hammer. Even though I've been doing it for years, I just use a regular hammer. And a punch to punch the nail holes. It comes in handy on a lot of things. If you find a piece of slate that's stuck up in there, if you could access it through the water line, you punch it in there, grab it with your slate ripper if you can't physically pull it down, and give it a tug and it'll pull the remainder of the slate that's left behind. Also, a punch and a slate ripper could come in handy on sliding the piece of metal or shim material over the exposed nail head. I also like using a hook blade for doing the same thing sometimes. That could really come in handy. So you don't need a lot of fancy tools. As long as you could get to the job, you could work it. Normally I wear my Cougar Paws work boots, but today, as you see, to prove you don't need none fancy, I'm just using regular loafers, regular Skechers. So here we find two failure points in the slate. They're what we refer to as nail pops. The nails start backing out, and as the weight and pressure of snow or somebody walking on it literally pushes the back of the slate through and punches a hole. Those two right there near that water key is problematic. This slate here should stop right about there, about 2-3 inches above that second course. So as you can see, those two nail holes can send water underneath there and be a problem. We'll dig that out and see what's going on. We'll pull that slate out, replace it with a new one. Also, you have to watch out for hairline cracks like this above water keys. They could be problematic. This one doesn't look that bad. We might just put a shim in there. We'll see. Okay, as the text suggests, I'm trying to use my Tello drone as a added cameraman today. My usual cameraman doesn't work in heights like this. So here we go. Where the slate ripper is the slate I was showing you earlier. It's kind of hard to get a tripod or other situation there. I can't do the slate repair and hold the camera with my other hand. So I'll talk you through it. You slide the slate ripper under there in the middle, grab the nail, give it a couple whacks. I like doing that just to loosen it up. Work the other side, pull at it. If you're lucky, you can pull the nail out. You don't have to use the hammer. If you have a well-sharpened slate ripper, you can cut through or pull the nails out. Since this slate is not going back in, it's dead, I take my hammer claw, dig into it in a safe area as to not damage the lower slate to help me pull it out. A lot of times you can do this by hand, wiggling it back and forth. Now, normally this is where I nail it in a solid sheeting job. If it's barn board or solid sheeting, I like to nail high. Even with a typical lat situation, that's where you would find the lat board. At the top of the course and the bottom of the the bottom of the slate. That's not the situation with this, but, okay, right there's the lap board, and there's a lap board up high, so we'll be nailing it high. Okay, right there we could see the gap or darkness in between the water key. Right there's a clear visual on the lap board, so that's where we're going to nail, but obviously we're have to nail a little higher. The other lap board should be at the top. That's nice. Very nice. I take my hook blade, ideally try to guide it up in the water cake. Sometimes that doesn't work. You gotta take your ripper and slide it up in there. Normally it's a lot higher, so I gotta do 2 shims on this one. Make sure that the lower one's tucked under. Gotta watch this dust on your footing. We have one over here. Off to the next one. Okay, right here we have a crack right through the water line, like I explained. This slate here doesn't stop until here. Our Lap board is here and here. Since we can't reach here, we're going to have to nail there. So this two-piece, we know there's a nail right here. So we slide it kind of off to the side. We know we grabbed our nail. Got a bite on that. We can see according to stain, it's coming down. I like to loosen up my nails first before I go for the kill. That's where having a sharp slate ripper really come in handy on cutting those nails. Right there, there's nothing here. And right there goes the, right there goes the lap board. See if there's a way we could tag this lap board. There isn't. It's just out of reach. Damn. Okay. Let me go around, get the new slate, slide it in. Repeat the process. There's two ways of doing this. You can either go around, pull the slate out, then come back and fill them in, or you could pull one, fill one back in. I like to pull one, fill back in process because the problem is sometimes you get overzealous, you pull too many, and then you don't have enough to fill back in. A lot of things happen when you're working with slate. They're kind of brittle. When you walk around on slate, especially when you find out that you have lats, it's best to walk on the lower part of the slate. If it's on lats, whether you know it or not, there will always be a lat here on the bottom to give this some stability. Usually there's a lat on the next top course. So there we have it. If there's a lat here, and then there's a lat here, and there's a lat here, try not to walk in the middle. That's the weak spot. Walk low, you'll be less likely to break slate as you go along. Slate damage is a two-part. It's natural, it's snow loads, it's a lot of things, but if you're not careful on walking on it, you could do more damage than good. Also, try to get the correct size slate, and by that, the width and the height are one thing, but also thickness helps if you can. Sometimes it's not readily available, but okay. Now right here's an interesting one. What I'm feeling is the slate is almost on top of that third lap board, but it's not there yet. This could be tricky, especially with different space laps. What you got to do with this is slide your ripper under and help bridge the gap. Typically very walkable, but that's where a chicken ladder would really come in handy. Either get a specialized chicken ladder or a ladder hook. Let's go. Lap boards can be very springy. They could break on you. Lap boards are definitely going to be your worst case situation, but they're manageable. Worst comes to worst, if you have a bad lap problem, you just replace the one above it and the one you're working on. It's not the end of the world. Now it's easy to get frustrated or bogged down on it. Things ain't working quite right. Right here we got our nail pup. That could be resolved with nailing that back down, sliding a piece of metal in there, but that's not what we're here for. Pull that nail out. Pull that nail out. Slate. Slide it in there. That one fit pretty good. Pretty high on this. If you have a regular punch, you could take the bottom of it and tap on it. That'll help keep your nail head square. I like these DeWalt's. I like the wide flange. They don't get lost in my pocket very easy, like a traditional one. So I like to bend this up and this down like that. It makes for a nice wedge. Really holds it in there well. And take my ripper, carefully slide it in there. As I'm looking at the top here, I see it cover the water line. And that nail head's actually covered, so we're good. One successful repair. Now if you take your punch and you rake it down, you can feel metal in there. It's solid. If you're ever looking at old repairs and you want to know if there's metal in there, you could do that with a hook blade or a punch. Sometimes it's not as obvious as you would suspect. Alright, back from my break. I got my punch, got my shim. I'm all set to do this. Nail should be clear. You don't have to do that with your hammer. I just find it's easier. Pull the slate out if you're not going to be putting it back. Sometimes it's necessary to pull slate to make life easier on you. Alright, we're in that zone. Definitely something solid there. It's a good sign. Okay. Alright, it's beautiful. Gray, you don't see any of it. White, even brown sometimes could stand out if the water lines have a wider gap. That's why I like to use gray if I have the opportunity to. I think that's going to be about it for today. Do a couple more slate, clean up, call it a day, and come back another day. Okay, so we got all we're going to get done today. I think this section here is in pretty fair shape. Right around where the tele drone is where the problem was. I think we got most of that tightened up. Here's all the bad slate. Here's an interesting part. So it's kind of a debate. A lot of people would pick these slate up, or they were to work it off the roof, and they would literally chuck it off the roof into the yard. Rarely ever do you get lucky where you toss a slate down and it lands in one piece. Even if you do, when you throw the second piece on it, it'll shatter in a million pieces. And you'll have all these little flake debris pieces all over the place to clean up. I like to carefully take mine out in the whole pieces, stack them up, and grab a manageable size, hold it like a dinner plate at a restaurant or a pizza pie, and carry them down the roof and throw them away that way. No mess up here, no mess down there. This is your one few chances to work clean. I can recommend this. If you want to spread a tarp out, go ahead, but remember these slate are heavy and they could easily cut through your tarp. So, and the nails also could puncture and ruin a good tarp. If you're going to do that, I recommend a heavy duty drop cloth.